So what we're showing on the outside here is what we call an exotic property, a high-end property, and some of the features that are part of these homes and what separates them from a lot of other homes and why it's important in this end of the marketplace to know what you're talking about. All right, welcome to Pebble Beach. We got a little bit of an auxiliary unit or a guest house they have here, and this shows a lot of the things that people don't think about, which is good because they don't need to think about. They get a beautiful house, a beautiful location, but we at e2Value think about it, and we think it highlights some of the things about our software and our approach that puts us above the other approaches and other softwares in the industry. So come on in. We're going to start with this beautiful view. And what this means is we're in an earthquake zone. A lot of California is an earthquake area. So when you build the home, it needs a certain code for the earthquake. And this is a big glass door. And the thing with that is glass doors don't do too well in earthquakes. They tend to crack. And so this is built with that in mind. And so you start with the foundation and you work your way through the top of the house. The second thing is this door is metal. It's in a metal frame, which I think goes along with the earthquake resistance. So as an old carpenter, if we had a wooden door, we could always shave a little piece of the wood off to make it fit. What you can't do with metal, so everything that's put in this house has to be precise. So that takes you from maybe beginning carpenters, medium contractors, into very high-end contractors. And so when we look at this, we know right away that this is going to have, instead of maybe 40 contractors who are capable of building a place like this, we might be down to 3 or 4. Follow this way. When you look at a house, you've got doors, you've got windows, you'll typically see molding. So you have really wide molding, really in-depth molding, really carved molding. So carved molding is a little more expensive, big molding is a little more expensive. In this case, there's no molding, and that's actually more expensive to have no molding versus having any molding. So when you look at that window, and we'll take a look here, this wall has to be precise. That window again is metal, that has to fit in precisely. And so when you're designing this house, they can't mess this up. And so every little piece is fitted precisely to make it look nice. The other thing you'll notice is the lighting, and they have these electronic shades over those windows. When the sun comes in, it might be a little bright. And so from the get-go, they designed this house to be able to run this wiring for that lighting, run the wiring from that switch on the wall to the electronic shades. And they even have, in this case, because of California code, they have sprinkler heads. A lot of builders would lose a lot of money trying to make this work, so you have to have the builder with a certain amount of financial backing, certain amount of skill. This is precisely built. Think of it like a cabinet or cabinet maker building this, not just a regular home builder. Come with me this way. So this is the bath part of the home. Bathrooms, kitchens are typically the more expensive areas in a home because they've got cabinetry, they've got countertops, they've got a lot of plumbing, they've got to fit all these pieces together. And I mentioned before that this home's located in an earthquake area. They've got stone and tile on the walls. So you look at this cabinetry, this is a high-end cabinet with a natural wood finish, and this high-end cabinetry fixtures to go with it. Beautiful marble top, beautiful marble back, one piece where they cut and put the sink underneath. And so this is not something that just anybody can put in. Again, precisely fit, has to be strong, has to be structurally sound to hold this piece here. So you look here, this is a ceramic tile, straight seams, perfectly matched seams on this process. This is a high-end tile and a high-end finish on this. And so there's a certain type of craftsperson that's going to be able to put this together, not just anybody, from Home Depot or Lowe's is going to show up and be able to put these tiles on the wall. When you look at the older home, this was the original home. I think it was built in the 1950s. It's a French-style home, and it captures some of the original Pebble Beach look that was out here. And when you think about that, there's just a certain amount of cost you need for foundation, for electrical service, for plumbing service. And again, from a homeowner's perspective, agent's perspective, carrier's perspective, they don't have to worry about this. This is what we do. This is what we focus on. So when we're talking to the builders, we're understanding the materials, we're understanding the changes in construction codes. And one of the things with this, when you look up the definition of replacement cost, it talks about what's considered. Most policies are written for personal lines. It's everything from the footings up. We include those footings. We think it's an important part of the replacement cost. We include what it's going to take to put it back to code, and we don't split that out. If you, as an owner of this particular property, need to replace it, we're going to call it insurance clean. All you have to do is walk in, hang up your clothes, and occupy your house. And it's just one of those things that from a definition standpoint, and we think from a software standpoint, there's so many little features in these that people try to capture, and it's really difficult with most software. And that's why we designed e2Value from the beginning as a holistic approach, looking at the market, looking at what's here, and then you can adjust slightly. But the major things about this is that this is a particular size home in Carmel, California. And it's going to sit into a certain classification of who can build that particular home. So what I just walked through was an arched doorway. Most doorways are square put together. And it just again goes back to the features of what you had to do when you framed it, how you had to put it together. And it's a little more expensive to do those little features. And again, if we went through this house, you saw the different features adding up. And that's what we talk about when you're at some place, location-wise, and then when you're thinking of the world, what builder can do this, you're really narrowing down the number of builders you can use in such cases. So we're in the original home section, and it's a little different in construction technique. It's a little different in what they did because it was done 70 years ago. And so when you look at the fireplace, you look at how they did the walls and the transition, that is a wooden molding up there, but it doesn't mean it's less expensive because they just traded out plaster and a corner for a custom-made piece of wood molding today. And you look down, and a lot of people would probably just look at this and say, oh, that's a nice fireplace, but that is an arched, carved marble fireplace with a lot of depth to it. This is a highly custom mantle and fireplace covering. Again, when you get to precision, this has to sit perfectly flat. That has to sit against these pieces. Everything has to sit together. So it goes back to from the foundation up through the framing. Everything has to be precise in a particular high-end home like this. The other room had what they call cove molding because the molding went in. This is a crown molding, it pops out. It's a little trickier to put this in, and this wall is rounded, so the corner is plastered versus a sharp corner. And when you look at this particular detail, a lot of places, a lot of people would skip this as anything more than just a little corner. And it's not. It's actually shows the precision between putting this tiny door molding on here precisely. Underneath this is the sheetrock or the plaster that has to be run right up against the door. And then with that detail, and you gotta follow that through. So the same idea, if when you're rebuilding this is a feature that's part of the house, is what makes it exciting to the folks that own it. From the hardware, the type of door, the molding, all the way up to the ceiling. Those are things that are little, may not seem that big of a deal, but they're actually the most impactful things to the cost of a lot of homes. One of the things that I understand is confusing. There's market value, tax value, and replacement cost value. When you look at a location like this, we're on the 18th fairway at Pebble Beach. We have a view of the ocean. There's not many properties like this. So from a market standpoint, and I don't know the number, but my guess is it could be close to $30 million, $25 million to get this location. The house itself, even with the auxiliary unit, is probably going to be about $5 million. So there's a pretty big disparity between what someone pays for this particular property and what the insurable interest is in the home itself. And so what we're worried about is insurable interest. Well, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your attention. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to have a beautiful Fumar cigar from President's Club Sports, enjoy a little bit of the AT&T Pebble Beach golf tournament, and maybe relax a little bit. We look forward to seeing you again, and follow more at E2Value for our informational videos.